Hello everyone at Sir John Leman School. My name is Tom Palmer and I am a children's author. Most of my books are about football, as I think you know, because you've sent me this email with questions which I'd be very happy to answer. I'm now going to, and before I go on, Happy Christmas, by the way, for in a couple of weeks. Anyway, so you've sent me some excellent questions. And I'm going to read out the name of each person who's asked the question and then try and answer the question. And I'll try and do it for your teachers. I'll try and do it in like 10, 15 minutes, just so that I cover everything properly. But thank you very much, first of all, for taking the time to ask the questions. Right, Alex asks, how many hours do you spend writing in a typical week? Not enough, to be honest. I'd like to spend about 20 hours writing, but it's probably closer to 10. And the reason for that is that I do a lot of school visits, and I kind of do too many school visits, so I don't have enough time to write. So, and the problem with that is I need to earn more money from writing the books, so I can do less school visits, so that I can spend more time writing. So it's a bit of a catch-22, really. That's not to say I don't like doing school visits, because I do, but I wish it was like 50-50. School visits and writing, rather than it's more like 75-25 at the moment. Good question, Alex. Do you read your own books? Is Alex's second question. Only when I have to read them to remember what was in them. Say if I've written a series with 6 books in it, I'll reread the first couple of books just to remind myself what's in them. So, because you can forget stuff between books, and if they don't you know, like a series of 3 films, like The Hunger Games or something like that, although that's 4, isn't it? You have to make sure they all follow, otherwise it distracts the reader, in my opinion. So, but I wouldn't really, because there's loads of other authors whose books I'd rather read than my own, frankly. Campbell, how do writers earn their money? One, by writing the books. You get paid roughly 50p a book. So one of my books, for instance, every time this is sold, I get 50 pence, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but over the last 8 years I've sold about 250,000 books, so it sort of works out all right in the end, pretty good. And also I do school visits as well, and I get paid for them. So that's the main way that I get money. What was the first book I wrote? The first book I wrote might even be here. It's called If You're Proud to Be a Leeds Fan, and it's about my relationship with Leeds United, and it's sort of a football fan's diary, and it's just for Leeds fans, really. Well, unless you're sort of open-minded to reading about other clubs, but most people hate Leeds, don't they? Anyway, also from Campbell, what was the first book sorry, I've just said that. Oh, Campbell's written another question, but it's not printed out properly. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's not. I better carry on with this anyway. So, Josh, do you visit schools often? Yes, 3 days a week. What do you do on your visits? I do something called a football reading game, and it's a quiz about different stuff you can read about to do with football. So newspapers, magazines, and books. And then if you get a question right in the quiz, you get to take a penalty. And if you look over there in this mess, there's a goal there, and that goal is an inflatable goal. And so if you get a question right, you get to have a penalty, and try and win a trophy. And there's some trophies over there as well. So it's part quiz and part penalty shootout. And there are questions there for people who don't like football too. Also from Josh. No, I've done Josh. Sorry, I'm making a right mess of this. I do apologise. Joe, why are you so passionate about football? Football was a big thing for me until I was about 30, and then I got more in my life. Football's great. I like football, but up until the age of 30, I didn't really have that much in my life apart from football. Now I've got a lovely wife, a lovely daughter, and I've got other hobbies, things that I like to do, and I'm more into rugby as well, actually, rugby. So football was massive for me when I was younger, but I'm kind of less intense about it now. But it was everything to me until the age of 30, which is kind of sad. Anyway, not that football isn't ace, because it is. Are you a player of football? Not anymore, because I did my knee in when I was 23 and it's sort of wrecked. But I do like, so I can't, when you're playing football and you have to change direction very quickly, I can't do that because my knee will just go like that. Right, next question. Rudy, is cycling also a sport you love? No, I don't. It's all right. I've done a couple of events and activities to do with cycling, but I like going cycling with my daughter, but on my own. If I'm going to be, I've got a mountain bike, but to be honest, I'd rather run. I like fell running, which is a sort of running up and down on hills, which I believe you're in Suffolk, aren't you? So I sort of live in the Pennines and there's lots of hills, and I like doing fell races. I'm not particularly fast, but I just like being up there and out there. Excellent. So that was Rudy. Tyler, what is the favourite book you've written? My favourite book I've written is Over the Line. Over the Line is about footballers 100 years ago who fought in the First World War. So you like your equivalents of Rooney and Sturridge and all them lot. Joe Hart went to fight 100 years ago in the trenches in the First World War, and this is what happened to them. And I'm trying to think if there's any from your area. No, I don't think there are. But there's Chelsea players, Huddersfield Town players, Grimsby players, and it's my favourite because it's about real people who fought in the war for us, and that's why I like it. Samuel, what bike have you got and how much did it cost? Oh right, so you've seen that video. It cost 200 quid, I think, which for mountain bikes isn't that much, but I did it because I had to do a cycle ride from Sheffield to London, raising money for a football charity in Africa, and so I bought it for that, and another project that I did as well. So I'm not really into cycling unless my daughter wants to go out cycling, and she's currently 11. No, she's not. She's just turned 12, and we haven't been out on our bikes for ages actually, but maybe we will. Now you've brought that up, thank you. Right, so that was Samuel. Casey, tell me about your family. Do you write for them? How much money can authors earn? My family, I'm married to Rebecca, and we have a daughter called Iris who's 12, as we just ascertained, and they're lovely. I really love them, and they make me really happy. My wife sort of works for me and runs the website. Well, she doesn't work for me, I work for her. She runs the website, she gets in touch with schools, she does all the money stuff, and she helps me edit the books, and she's brilliant, and she likes reading and going walking with me, and we like camping and stuff like that. And my daughter is really into running, gymnastics, she likes reading and making stuff and like models and stuff like that, and she's really lovely too, and they're great, and I'm really happy, which is good. Do I write for them? I do. The book I'm writing at the moment actually is called Roller Coaster Girl, and it's about a girl and her dad, and about sort of, now that my daughter's 12, I have to give her more freedom than she had when she was at primary school, and a lot of dads struggle with that, and I struggle with that. So it's a book about that really, about how a dad has to let a daughter have more freedom, but not too much, so that she'd be in danger, and where the line is between the two. It's sort of about that, and I am writing that for my daughter at the moment. It'll probably never get published, but the main thing is that it's for her, which is important. How much money can authors earn? Authors can earn a lot of money. So J.K. Rowling can earn millions, tens of millions, because of her books sell millions of copies, and there are films and there's merchandise and there's other things like that. Most authors don't earn enough to live on. I'm lucky I earn about How much do we earn? We earn about, my wife and I, so we're both working on it full time, we earn about the same as a junior teacher. As a teacher has been working for about 2 years in schools each, so we earn the equivalent of that. But if one of the books did really well, then we would start to earn a lot more. But it's enough for us to live on, and that's good. Right, what's next? We've done Casey. Leo, are you planning to write any more books about cycling? Any books about cycling, please do. I'm sorry, Leo. I'm not planning to write any books on cycling. You should write books about cycling, because I'm not really into it, and you have to have a passion for something. I'm trying to think if there are any. What's his name? There was an author who wrote a book about cycling during the Olympics. He's the same guy, Robert Rigby. He wrote a book about a BMX cyclist. Robert Rigby, if you look that up. If you look up Robert Rigby online and then cycling or Olympics, then a list of his books will come up and you'll see which one I mean. I'm trying to think of any others. There aren't that many cycling books for children, which is a shame, but I'm not the man to do it because I don't have the passion for it. So sorry Leo. Alice, why do you always write about football, rugby? Who inspired you to become a writer? So I was inspired to become a writer by, once I got into reading, about the age of 17. Before that I didn't like reading. Once I got into reading, I wanted to be a writer. I admired writers and I wanted to be like them. So it was going to the library. I visited the library, borrowed lots of books, and that gave me a passion to want to be a writer as well. And your first question was, why do you always write about football and rugby? I started off writing about football and rugby because I like it, but I am now trying to write about other things, but it's quite difficult because all publishers would just want me to write about sport. But I am writing this series, which is called Wings. This comes out next year, so in 2016, and they're the book covers. And it's about children who end up flying great airplanes, so from history. So you've got the Sopwith Camel, the Spitfire, and the Typhoon on the end, and it's children who end up flying those airplanes. Say, for instance, in Spitfire, a boy makes a model of a Spitfire airplane, and he's transported into it, and he has to fly it in the Battle of Britain. And in this one, two girls go into a simulator, a Typhoon airplane simulator, and they have to, they end up flying a real Typhoon. I'm not very good at describing it though, but that's how next year anyway. Right, good question. So I'm trying to write about other stuff, but a lot of publishers won't accept it, which is why I think that Roller Coaster Girl, the one about the girl and her dad, may never get published, because it's not about sport, and because that's what publishers like me to write about. It's quite hard to break into a new part of the book market, which is really, really annoying, but there you go. Andrea, what do you love about writing? The book I'm writing now, I love writing it because I like creating a story and trying to organise it and make it work, and I like writing about my feelings. So the book I'm writing now, I'm writing about a dad and his daughter, and their relationship, and I'm really enjoying writing about that, because I try to think about my relationship with my daughter and how I can be a good dad, and so the book's making me think about that. And then when you're writing it, whatever it's about, you just can get into the zone, and it's just something I love doing, so it's really good to get paid for it as well, because I kind of have a job that's my hobby and I get cash for it, which is great. Right, the last question, and these have been really good questions, so well done. Sophia, have you always been a writer? No, I didn't like writing until I was about 20, but since then I've always tried to get published, but I didn't get published till I was nearly 40, so I've not been a published writer for that long. And finally, Sophia, how long have you been writing for? So sorry, I'm repeating that one. So that is all the questions. I hope that's been useful, and they were really good questions. You've obviously put a lot of thought into them. So it just leaves me to say, have a very happy Christmas, all of you, if you get to see this before Christmas. If you don't, it'll seem a bit weird that I'm wearing this hat, but there you go. Happy Christmas, and thank you very much for your questions. See you later.